This lesson is over decimals, fraction, and percent conversions. So first of all, you need to realize that decimals, fractions, and percents are all just different ways of showing the same value. For example, Kurt's, however you say that, is 1 for 17 in his career against C.J. Wilson. So 1 for 17 is really the same thing as a fraction, 1 over 17, which when we convert that should give us 0.059 as a decimal, which that is a rounded answer. And if we turned that into a percent, which we will learn in a second, we would get 59%. So all the same number, just a different way of representing. So normally when we look at batting averages, we look at it in decimal form. But for some people who may not be so familiar with batting averages, they might like to look at it for this might make more sense to them. But as far as comparing, the decimals are better. However, when we talk about weather, we typically talk about it as percentage. It is really the same thing as looking at a fraction or a decimal, though. It's just how we represent it. So converting between percent and decimals is usually the easiest. Percentage means out of 100 or per 100. So if you're changing your percent to a decimal, since it's out of 100 in percent form, you divide by 100 to get back to decimal form. One way to remember that is percent to a decimal, L, you move 2 places to the left. Okay, so if we are dividing by 100, that means we're taking that decimal and we're moving it back because we're dividing, which means we're making it smaller. So we're taking that decimal and we're moving it back. We're moving it back twice because we're dividing by 100. So we're taking that decimal and we're moving it back. Okay, so to the left. So the decimal on 32% is right here. So in decimal form is 30.32. Moving it back twice, which means we have to add a 0. Moving it back twice, which means this number is just 4. Twice. And twice. Now, to change a decimal to a percent, that should actually say multiply there. That's a typo. We are multiplying by 100. It's just the reverse process. So if I have the decimal form, I'm going to move it 2 places to the right, and that gives me 27%. So one memory trick is that this one has an R, so you're moving it to the right. I prefer to think of it that we're making percents are out of 100, so they're bigger. So you have to move it to the right by multiplying by 100 to make that number bigger. So on this one, move it to the right. And don't forget your percent symbol, otherwise it's a different answer. Move it to the right. Don't forget the percent symbol. Move it to the right. Move it to the right. Move it to the right. And that's how you change a decimal to a percent and a percent to a decimal. Percent to a fraction. Okay, well, these are all out of 100. So if you're taking 40%, it's 40 out of 100. So you can put 40 over 100. Then you just have to simplify. Remember to always simplify to your lowest terms. So 104% is 104 out of 100. So I'm going to put 104 over 100, which reduces to 26 over 25. I divided both sides by, or top and bottom by 4. And then I need to turn this into a mixed number. 25 goes into 26 one time with 1 left over. Same thing here. This is out of 100. I have to move this over because I'm not allowed to have decimals inside of my fraction form, which is why this became 1,000. And then both of these are divisible by 5. So that gives me 1 over 200. Okay. The last thing that I want to point out is we talked about a percent to a fraction. We did not talk about a fraction to a percent. So if you have 2/5, well, all fractions are out of 100. So if you can easily make this into 100, then now you know your percent. However, 8 can't easily be made into 100. So what I would suggest from this form is turning it into a decimal first, which is 0.625, and then moving your decimal. Okay. If you have any questions, you can always come see me. Please make sure and get started on the next few pages of your practice book. Thank you.